Well, here we are, everybody, with some surf music in the background, a DreamBot reading for April 9th, 2025, first of its kind, because normally these get embedded into the energy report that we do every week. We've been doing for years, every Wednesday, but we've moved that report to Monday, so that's already out. And we talk about the collective dreams, the collective unconscious, and collective psychology based on my pattern recognition in my psychotherapy practice. And it's like, what's happening? What's the latest in the collective mind? All right, now I will say before we get too started here that this is the CIRF report. This is the CIRF playbook number 447. So if you haven't seen that yet, that was put out on Monday. I recommend going to view that first. That's up here because that gives you the background of the influences. And we're going to try to feed this collective influence, like what's happening in the collective mind, and see how it jives with what we talked about in the influence. All right. And we didn't do it before because by the time we get into our surf week, which is from April 10th to April 16th, then the collective mind is sort of decayed or it's no longer relevant. So we want the latest info. All right, let's get started. Here's your DreamBot for April 9th. And number one word, drum roll, please. I can do that. All right, blood is at the very top. Blood April. That doesn't bode too well. But keep in mind, too, the DreamBot, as far as where this information is coming from, is from the past called day residue, like the stuff that we've already been exposed to, people are dreaming about. For those of you who not familiar with the DreamBot, don't know about the DreamBot, this is a bot that goes out onto the web and it finds just dream words, dreams, people's dreams. And so then puts it all together and consolidates it and sees which words are being used the most from week to week. And a lot of times we'll have day residue, i.e. Stimulants or being exposed to things from the past, like, for example, blood. Blood just by itself could denote all sorts of things, like the stock market is bleeding. But also there was a blood eclipse full moon blood lunar eclipse that was a blood moon because it turned red, and red is also in here. So this could just be the eclipse that happened, but that was a couple of weeks ago. And so why didn't we see the DreamBot last week? Well, that's a good question. Don't know, but it's here now. And the way that dreams work, they are multi-meaning a lot of time, multiple metaphors. So maybe it's both. Maybe it is the eclipse, blood and red, but it also, when you correlate it with fighting, which is also a word here, and hook and fragment, it sort of gets into like war or bloodshed, does it not? Number one word is significant in most of these runs. It denotes an important thing to look at, but then all these support words also help because it determines how we use the word at the top, in this case, blood. Now, I will show you this, though. There's another blood reference, and that is second coming. So we have Jesus down here. This is the yellow arrows. Jesus, live. So Jesus lives. Yeah, it doesn't have the S there, but that's close. Jesus live. Stairs, stairway to heaven, and second coming. So, and some people would then put blood and red in there in the Jesus category, because if you go to communion, what are you drinking? Some grape juice. And when I grew up, it was actual wine, but whatever. The metaphor is, or the analogy is, you're drinking Jesus's blood. So, but can it be both? War fighting and Jesus? Probably one or the other, but I don't know which one it is. Does this mean Jesus is coming soon? If it's both, if the DreamBot could represent stuff from the past and the future, how do we know which one? Well, unfortunately, we don't. The only time that I was able to guarantee, or seemingly in hindsight, it looks like I can take out most of the day residue, is to put a DreamBot up against incubated dreams. So like a group of, and I've done this in a few times, where you have a group of people, maybe like 50 to 100 people. That's what we had in these projects. And you get them all to incubate about a future time frame. So you contain it like a month of August or a year of 2026 or whatever. And then you take all those dreams that came after the incubation, the statement, I will dream about August, for example, sometime in the future. Then I can put the DreamBot on it and be fairly certain that there is very little. I can't say there's no day residue, but there's very little. And I demonstrated that in Project August and Project Anya, a couple of projects. Why don't we do that? Well, because I have a job now. It takes an enormous amount of effort to do that, which I want to do. I want to do this kind of thing where we have incubations, where maybe even every month we have incubators that are going into like people, humans that are willing to incubate dreams for a specific month, and then I put the DreamBot against it and see what we got. All right, next, we have more themes. Initiate and active. There's an element of active, and this goes into our astrology very well. Headed, journey, began, start, ran. It's like a new start, and this goes especially into our last I Ching reading, which was very much, well, and the eclipse. We have a new eclipse cycle, right? And we're bold, like collectively. The collective mind is generally like bold and out the gate. That's kind of in the collective unconscious. Do you all agree with that? Yes, the latest was in the DreamBot. The latest I Ching was more of oppression, but that doesn't mean it was that we didn't have. I'm pointing to, actually, let me pull this up. Hold on. Here's your the chart. So oppression, remember, wasn't about just feeling oppressed all out. I mean, you can't feel totally oppressed, just blanket statement oppressed, because Sun in Aries and a full moon in Libra is not going to let you feel it. But there's going to be a background to the background signature was mutable water, which has this this guy that's wielding fire. This is the picture. This guy wielding fire has got his feet in the water. So when he starts running, it's just like really just slows him down. And that's enough to call it oppression. So I thought it was a really brilliant reading, but I'm kind of mesmerized by all these I Ching readings. All right, get this. There's a theme called National Lumber Plan. It's the light blue arrows. So Nat, yes, this was also in last week's report. Nat, I'm thinking that's short for national. And then you have forest. National Forest is here. But then you have construction and building, store, and across. Well, across is multifaceted because you have across probably the world, but across the country. All these stores, construction and building, all that's correlated. I went searching. Hey, is this an accurate meme that I found in the collective unconscious? Is this kind of like a national lumber plan? Is there something like that? And sure enough, right here, it says that there was an executive order and then a memo created by, well, I have a link. So let's go straight to the link and just read it. So here's the USDA website. And I'll shrink it just a touch so you can see it all. Secretary Rollins announces sweeping reform to protect national forest. And that's a weird statement. Protect national forest and boost domestic timber production. Isn't that kind of the opposite of protect? It's one or the other. Like you take all the timber is not really protecting the national. I don't know. I'm not trying to get political, and I'm not cynical. I'm a political person. As an Aquarian, I could care less. But I mean, just straightforward, protect and timber boost are on the opposite ends of the continuum. Whatever. I'm not here to say that the intent is wrong. I'm not here to say that the effect will be wrong. I don't know. But all I'm saying is this is clearly what the collective unconscious is saying and is feeling in the dreams. There's a emergency situation determination, according to the USDA. 112 million acres of national forestry system land. And this comes on the heels of Trump's executive order to expand American timber production by 25%. And so it will empower the U.S. Forest Service to expedite work on the ground and carry out authorized emergency actions to reduce wildfire risk. There's a protection. It's to reduce the wildfire risk and also save American lives. Okay, all right. So there's your protection. But it talks in here about how this will also increase timber outputs right here. Increase timber output. So you get both protect. So there you go. They're on opposite ends of the continuum, but it's a twofer, I guess. So there's the intention. But as we know, there'll be good and bad effects that no one knows until the future comes and then we find out. So there you go. The cool thing is that the collective unconscious has picked up on it. So Nat, construction, building, forest, store, across. All these memes, none of them is the strongest. I think if you combine the red or take out the fighting and the hook and the fragment, and you combine the red and the yellow, I think the second coming is probably the biggest meme. But if you keep the fighting in there and blood is a part of the fighting, then they're all about roughly the same strength. War, second coming. Oh, by the way, war. I wanted to say something on that. It's not too far into the current I Ching reading. I'm sorry, astrology. It's not into the latest CIRF. It's going to be the next CIRF. Here, let me show you something, because I know that you all deserve to get a little bit further into the future. Okay. I'm going to show you a date, and I'm going to show you the astrology. Mark your calendar, 4/20. 4/20 of all days. April 20th, 2025. We have an unbelievable spectacle in the astrology. You have an absolute perfect T-square with Mars, Sun, Moon at the exact time of the last quarter moon. All right. And I'm going to go into a full, next CIRF report. We'll talk about this, but mark your calendar. I mean, it is exact. And what's really, I don't know, ominous, for a lack of a better word, is that Pluto is also here. So Pluto, the planet of control and power, like hidden power, is opposing Mars. They're not quite exact yet, but Moon is. Moon and Pluto together. Opposite of Mars, Mars is very dramatic in Leo and very get up and go, impulsive, demanding, and I need to be recognized and bold. And it's on a T-square. The Sun has a T-square, so identity and ego is very entrenched and bullheaded with Taurus. Needs to get his way, and so it just makes it very contentious. It goes absolutely exact, but Pluto and Mars is not just opposing each other, they're also contraparallel. They're on opposite ends of the inclinations. It's unbelievable. So big power struggles, but all bets off with last quarter moon. It's like an army general who is rah 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 at the end of the battle. It's almost done, and all the soldiers and grunts are just like super tired. They're just about ready to fall asleep, and he's just there rah rah rah. He's tired too, but come on, we gotta keep going. That's this energy, but it's like, I don't know how much longer I can do it. It's like burnout, overwhelm, and all these massive power struggles. And I wonder if, at a collective level, I wonder if this whole tariff thing comes to a head around or thereabouts 420, and what the effect will be. But it doesn't look pleasant, and it's beyond coincidence because it goes exact at the exact time of last quarter. This is the exact time of the last quarter moon, and everything. Mars is at 1 degree 12 minutes, Moon 1 degree 12 minutes, and Sun 1 degree 12 minutes. It is exact at the time. It's crazy. I've never seen that before in astrology. That beautiful and exactness. So that'll be next CIRF report, and I think that's where the collective unconscious is coming with war or bloodshed. But luckily, it's not a real strong. It just has the top word, and 3 words in the top 5. So whatever. All right, there's the DreamBot in a nutshell. Now let's talk about some collective matters and listen to some surfing music while I'm getting things set up. Let's see here. Whoops. I'm new at this. All right. Stop the music. All right. Big psychotherapy trends that I've noticed over the course of like the last week or so. We have a lot of futurists that come in. And what is the percentage? I'd say about 30 to 40% are in this camp, the futurists. And they are very overconfident in their predictions of what's going to happen in the future. And I know this because I'm a futurist myself, and I've made a lot of predictions that later don't turn out to be accurate. But I've made predictions that come true, but you can kind of see the air or the confidence in it that determines, I think this is just more of an emotional judgment against what's happening right now. That's most of my futurists that have all these predictions. So that's one camp. What happened here? The second camp is those who still have their head in the sand, or more accurately, suffering. Probably suffering or distracted, or both. I only have one client that is generally going from this prediction thing, realizing the futility in it, because really nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. Nobody knows what these effects are. Not even the ones who think they're in control or want to be in control or whatever. They don't know either. Okay, but I have one client who actually knows this. And I'm asking what about what is, and he says, I don't care. I don't want to know. I want to just be in my paradigm. I'm going to put my head in the sand, in his words, but it was a conscious choice, not that he doesn't know or care what's happening, but he's trying to care just about the things that he can control. And he seems to be one of the people who chronically has been in a difficult situation and is probably faring out the best, in my opinion, across my clientele in terms of his mentality and determination, just overall mental health. We'll see how long it stays there, but what he's doing is preventing himself from trying to go to the future and staying in just his own little ecosystem, because this is the only place I can control. And I think there's something to that. And then I want to touch on the Rave, Gate 32, and kind of correlate all this together. So we have one camp going into the future and kind of overconfident in their predictions. And then those who are distracted and or suffering to where they can't even contemplate anything outside of themselves. Okay, so Gate 32 says the only thing that endures is change, and I think that's absolutely apropos of what's happening here. I think one thing collective knows is that the status quo is changing. And some of us are accepting of it, and some of us are already rejecting it. But none of us know what the effect's going to be. We think we know. We think we've got like all these people, the influencers who are telling us what's going to happen, and they just seem to be wrong all the time, right? Especially when you look at like stock market, or occasionally you'll have somebody that have predicted the blood on the stock market recently, and like to the day or whatever. But that's rare. The crypto market's just been way off. I'm not talking about the numbers. I'm talking about the influencers who keep saying, "Oh, this is going to happen," and never does. It actually does the opposite. All right. But the point is, Gate 32 says change is here. Change is constant. You can't stop it. So how many of us are trying to spend time predicting the effects of the changes coming? Some of us are trying to predict the changes. Some of us are just seeing the changes and seeming helpless and then predicting the effect. For example, price of this will be sky high or whatever, hyperinflation. That's just an example. We're trying to see what the world will be like because everything keeps changing. So here's my take on it. Being that I don't have very many clients that are able to stay in the present moment, and this was me. I'm far from getting to like a high percentage of being in the present moment, but I'm a lot better than I used to be. But the psychologists somehow have been able to ascertain that roughly 95% of our existence is not in the present moment. It's either in the future, in the past. It's judging or describing what you see out there, or judging and labeling myself, one of the two, but it's not being, just being. So I think we want to boost the latter. So for most of us, on average, we're about 5% present and aware. And if we were able to boost this percentage higher, we would theoretically have lower anxiety, improve your health, improve relationships. Because how many times do you talk to your partner and you clearly they're not present? It happens to all of us, right? Not all the time. It's kind of come and goes. Sometimes the person is just not there. You can just sort of tell, even if their eyes are looking at you, they're just sort of like floating off into space while they're thinking. That's what's happening. So they're not present. If you're thinking, you're not present. Can you think and be present? Yes. I can show you how to do that too. But it doesn't mean you're never allowed to go to the future. But you got to admit that our mind tends to get stuck in either the past or the future. With all these changes, I'd say the majority of us are stuck in the future now. And this can be kind of hazardous with some people who are habituated to past. I think we all have kind of call it either a genetic or a learned trait about where their mind tends to go. I've got 3 categories: present moment, or like their habit. Present moment, future, that's where I am. They're kind of a futuristic sort of a mind. I'm on kind of the leading edge of now. I'm a little bit further than that. But I've learned that the best place to be is the present moment. But a lot of my clients are stuck in the past and going over and over and over the past. Still just seems like haven't fully digested it, or nostalgia or something. So basically what I'm saying is being present is better. And I think this also can add to our rave reading, because that's where intuition takes place, and instincts. Instincts and intuition take place in the present moment. I'm going to give you 2 options today, and kind of speaking about the rave, but also one thing that you can do or notice in the present moment. Because when we talked about the the rave, which is part of the I Ching, it uses the I Ching, is talking about instincts. And line 3 of Gate 32, gate 32 is in the spleen in human design. So we're going to talk about that, but also talk about, for those of you who don't care about human design or don't have a defined spleen in human design. So I'm going to give you a non-human design option as well today in this reading. So in both of these, whether or not you talk about the human design spleen or my non-human design option that I'll talk about here in a second, both of these, intuition is not a thought. It's a feeling. It's a body state. And so thoughts are not the intuition. You can't thought. It's not a voice. It's not an inner dialogue. It's not a visual thought like, this is going to happen. It's a feeling. In all cases, it's a feeling. It's a body feeling. So why don't all of us feel it then? If we all have it, which I'm saying that we all have it, but we kind of condition our way away from it, or we numb ourselves. If you're numb emotionally, like I was for the majority of my life, then you probably won't feel it. You'll be disconnected from it. So you have to learn, which I've demonstrated in my own life, is to learn how to reconnect with that intuition and instinct. Another way that we distant from it or get disconnected from it is fight or flight. It's the sympathetic nervous system activity, fight or flight, that get us into survival mode, which is a fear response. Fear can occlude our ability to recognize intuition. And it does. And then, so like, obviously, like panic attacks, like a lot of my clients get occasionally, they're not in intuition as that's happening. So think about that. But panic, a lot of that is from the mind state. So what I'm saying is we're going to have to learn how to get out of your thoughts temporarily in order to feel intuition. So let's talk about human design spleen. And for those of you who are interested in the human design, you can go get your chart for free. Just look it up. You can say free human design chart, put your data in. And this is the chakra. And so this is just my chart. I know it's fuzzy. It's an old picture, but this is the spleen right here. And if it's colored, that means it's defined. Defined is not good or bad. There's a good and bad to it. You just have to know it. It is what it is and work with it. So if you have a defined, that generally means that your instincts are correct, that they're pure, they're for you. Yeah, per your design. Now, is it going to be your authority? No. In human design, we have an authority, and it's these three here: solar plexus and sacral and solar plexus. Okay, and it goes in that order. The highest authority here is the solar plexus. They go in priority order, but it doesn't mean that because spleen is on the lowest end of this priority of these three, because they're all defined, it doesn't mean it's not accurate. So if I'm feeling instincts, I should probably heed it, right? If you're not defined, it doesn't mean you can't do this stuff, but it means that your instincts are not reliable. You would then go to the authority that is in your chart. But for those of you who are defined, make sure, okay, it's the definition is correct, but again, it's not good or bad. Defined means that you have immediate body-based knowing, and it's an instant thing. It's like a yes or a no, and I'm going to show you a way to get this impulse into you, regardless if you have a spleen in human design or not. But key, it's not a voice, not a logic. It's just a flash of clarity. So for those of you with a defined spleen in human design, practice throughout the day, check in. What's my spleen saying? For 1 week, act on what the spleen is and what the signal is saying. check the results. Record each one of these instances so that you can get used to listening to that instinct and know what it feels like. For some, it feels like kind of butterfly, but it's a knowing. It's not a fear. Like, so if an instinct is there to protect you, then it's not going to be fear per se. Fear will come in after you've started doing this thing that the instinct is telling you to do. And then fear might come in. Oh my God. So like one time I got hit by a drunk driver and survived it. And I had the kids in the background, and it was just, it was in shock, first of all. But I got out of the truck and I was looking to like duty minded, but not in fear. Sort of like a pre-shock shock. What the hell just happened? But then I'm in this space. It's kind of out of my control. I wasn't trying to be in my intuitive sense, but I was. And I was stopping traffic, calling police or having someone call the police, and just making sure that things were kind of like in control. And then it started to like come into my psyche, fear and oh my God, what just happened? And then like all this physiological shock. But that was intuitive. That was instinct. That was all instinct. And so I could have started thinking there and then probably entered a panic attack. I'm not one who's inclined for panic attacks, but that probably would have been one had I started thinking there. Okay, so what about the people who don't have a defined spleen, or you just don't care? Let's talk about that. And we've been going for 32 minutes, so just really quick. All right, think of this is how to tap into intuition. So we're get out of human design, and we are looking for harnessing intuitive sense. So here's one option that you have. So let's say you have a difficult choice to make. All right. And so what you're going to do is close your eyes and kind of clear the screen. The inner screen is clean. And then what you're going to do is make sure there's no emotional stuff there, like, I don't know, excitement or fear or whatever. So everything's clean in there as well. So you're just there. Right now, with your eyes still closed, now you visualize option A. Option A might be like purchasing something or doing something. And then as you picture yourself doing this thing or buying the thing or enjoying the thing that you bought or whatever it is, option A, what is the resulting feeling? What you're looking for is either kind of down in the stomach area or bottom part of the rib cage. At least this is for me. You can feel this sort of up energy. It's kind of like a and it says it's right. Your intuition is suggesting it's right. Now, you don't want your mind to be like, if you want option A, like you want to buy this thing and you're excited about it, your mind accidentally goes, oh, it's just going to be awesome. Like it's a judgment. Well, it's going to create an emotion that kind of feels like that. But you're just witnessing the imagination and seeing the resulting intuition, right? The no part feels kind of like kind of a dark-ish, heavy-ish, and a kind of a circling, at least for me, and it descends. So either it kind of comes up, and it can be very subtle. It's very subtle, and it's inside the body, and it's a felt sense. If you don't feel this at first, by the way, then you go to option B and do the same thing. Well, which one was saying yes? Which one was saying no? You can do it with 10 options if you'd like. One time when I was doing this was a purchase, and I needed I don't know, some sort of component. And I had both of the options as a yes, but one was clearly the energy, the emotion of it was coming all the way up into my throat and at the bottom of my tongue. The other one was a yes. So basically what I think from that I analyze is that both options would have been okay, but this one was better. So try that out. And if you don't feel it at first, that's okay. I didn't, it took me several times, several days, several weeks to master this. And it's good to practice. It's kind of a use it or lose it sort of a skill set, but I think we all have it in us. So tune in this week, especially, but always tune into your intuition. You can use one of those two ways and practice. And there's more options as well. Just being more present generally is going to be better, like I said, for health, relationships, reduce accidents, less escapism, more conscious choices, is benefiting you in your life. Okay. So be present basically means live through your five senses. What do you see without judging it? What do you notice? What do you hear? What do you notice? Don't judge it. Don't describe it. Don't analyze it. What do you feel? If you're sitting down, you feel something. If you're standing up, you're feeling something in your feet. Don't judge it. Are you feeling any tickle or any pain or anything? Try not to judge it. Just notice it. Okay, so live through your five senses this week. Practice that. The more, the better. Because it's going to be really hard to get to like 100%. It's unrealistic. To 100% of your day to be fully present and aware. Impossible, isn't it? I don't know. But I can show you how if you want to practice. We'll talk about that maybe in a future module. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. Make sure you watch the CIRF and make sure that you try these intuitive things out. It's best. All right, here we go. We'll close with some CIRF music. Cheers. See you next week.